All right, so we are set for yet another session of Market Masterclass with Religare. So, those who are joining us for the first time, I'll just brief about the uh, flow of the presentation. Means we'll start with a quick overview of how the markets performed during the week, followed by our critical part, means our view on both Nifty and the banking index, sectors to watch, stocks to focus on. Everything we'll cover in next 20 minutes, followed by a quick feedback poll and then the Q&A session for next 5 to 10 minutes. So in case if you wish to ask anything which we might have missed during the presentation, uh, particularly for any particular sector or theme which you'd like to know more, definitely we can answer during the Q&A. तो आप सभी का स्वागत है और जो पहली बार जुड़े हैं उनके लिए एक वेबिनार, ये क्या है, इसका प्रोसेस क्या है, इसका फ्लो क्या है। तो पहले एक मार्केट का इस वीक का परफॉर्मेंस कैसा रहा, नेक्स्ट वीक ज्यादा टाइम हम उस पर बताएंगे कि नेक्स्ट वीक क्या एंटिसिपेटेड है, कौन से सेक्टर्स पे फोकस करें, कौन से स्टॉक्स पे फोकस करें, ये सारी चीजें कवर करने वाले हैं। उसके बाद कोई भी सवाल रहता है आपका वेबिनार से रिलेटेड और किसी थीम किसी सेक्टर के बारे में जानना चाहते हैं, तो Q&A सेशन के दौरान आप जान सकते हैं। देयर इज अ बटन, वो क्वेश्चन मार्क वाला बटन ऑन योर स्क्रीन, उसको you have to press and write your questions. But अभी के लिए we just need to listen to what market has to say, and then accordingly during the Q&A you can ask your questions. So without any ado, let's start with a disclaimer first that it's not a trading or investment recommendation. Before making any decision based on the information shared, please check with your financial advisor. तो जो भी हम बात करने वाले हैं इसमें कोई भी ट्रेडिंग और इन्वेस्टमेंट रिकमेंडेशन नहीं है, तो प्लीज आप अपने फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर से जरूर बात करें जब भी आप कोई इंफॉर्मेशन को यूज करें। Now this is the performance for the week. Means 0.5% kind of a cut, more of consolidation tone for both Nifty and Sensex. Mixed trend on the sectoral front, where in IT, pharma, media on the positive side, realty, banking, FMCG, and auto on the negative side. Gainers, again, a very mixed trend, means Apollo Hospital, BEL, Asian Paints, Ultratech, and NP. Means from across sectors. And then on the losing side, Trent, Axis Bank, Kotak Bank, Tata Consumers, and Shriram Finance. So here, like, we have two losers from the private banking space and one name from the BSFI space as well. So all in all, it was more of a week of consolidation after the strong, surge that we experienced a week before. Means the consolidation range breakout in the Nifty after almost 5-6 weeks. So it's a normal consolidation what market experienced this week. देखिए, लास्ट वीक हम सबको पता है कि एक अच्छा मूव मार्केट में देखने को मिला था, जो कि 25,200 के ऊपर मार्केट निकला और 25,650 के पास गया। एक रेंज जो चल रही थी मार्केट में करीब 5 हफ्तों से, वो एंड हुई थी। इस हफ्ते उस तेजी पे थोड़ा सा ब्रेक लगा और निफ्टी करीब करीब निफ्टी सेंसेक्स 0.5% के कट के साथ बंद हो गए। सेक्टोरल फ्रंट पे भी आपको मिक्स्ड ही ट्रेंड नजर आएगा, जैसे कि 3 गेनिंग साइड पे, 5 लूजिंग साइड पे सेक्टर, जो की सेक्टर्स में। और गेनर्स लूजर्स में भी आपको दिखेगा कि कुछ खास क्लियर इंडिकेशन टॉप 5 गेनर लूजर्स से नहीं मिलेगी। कोई पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर ऐसा कोई प्रेशर में रहा हो या ऐसा कुछ, वो ऐसे कोई इंडिकेशंस नहीं है। तो ये था क्या, तो बेसिकली एक हफ्ता कंसोलिडेशन का था। कॉज एक नॉर्मल सिनेरियो में, जबकि एक अच्छे मूव के बाद मार्केट में अपने रेजिस्टेंस के पास या फिर अदरवाइज ऑल्सो, जबकि मार्केट का ट्रेंड, देखिए, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द टाइम वी सी मार्केट मोर इनटू ट्रेडिंग रेंज, नॉट into the directional move. Means it's 70-30 basically. Means 30% of the time we see the market trending, 70% time it's trading. What it means, जब आपको एक साइड का मूव दिखता है कि निफ्टी 24,450 से 25,650 चली गई, तो ये जब इस तरीके के मूव्स होते हैं वो आपको केवल 30% टाइम होता है, बाकी के सारे टाइम मार्केट कंसोलिडेट करता है, रेंज में रहता है 70% टाइम। तो वैसा ही एक हफ्ता जहां पे कि कंसोलिडेशन हमने बाजार में देखा। अब इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि आगे क्या। So this is the graph of Nifty, which we discuss almost every week. We are using this daily graph for the reason to so that you can recollect where we were and how we should approach the markets. So we were here last week, right? And we were discussing about this gap, small gap. I don't know how many of you can recall this, but means discussed about the tone is positive, everything is good, but what about this gap? Nifty has to fill this gap. Uh, it couldn't surpass this, means it made attempts around 27, 5, 650, 600 levels, multiple attempts, as you can see here, around this area, but it couldn't surpass. So for the entire week, it was more of time-wise, slightly on the price-wise, also in the final sessions, we saw that market corrected, right? So that's the importance of gap. I don't know how many of you can easily see this, but this blank area between these two candles is called the gap. Like here, we have this gap, which got filled almost during the next week itself. This is also a gap. So this gap, if attempted after a long period of time, becomes a critical resistance or support. And that is what is happening over here. That Nifty is facing resistance to cross 25,650. And then obviously the upper range of the gap close to around 25,750. So our levels for the index remain same. There's no change in that. Means last week also we've talked about 25,200. This consolidation range breakout area as a first support, and then 24,800 as a next support. Upside, we talked about 650. No, we talked about 750 directly. Means this upper band of this range, and then a new high, means 26,200 or closer to the record highs. So there's no change in levels for the index, considering that the lower band, the upper band is still intact, right? But how we should approach the market? So see, like what we were discussing, that the rally started in the index, this move started from what? Roughly around 24,450. And then we scaled to this area, around 600, 650 zone. And now we are seeing this correction. So this 20 EMA or 25,200 is still a very nominal correction to this entire move. Roughly around 35 to 40% kind of a correction from the recent highs. So the tone is likely to remain positive until we break this mark decisively, 25,200, which was earlier acting as a resistance. So both in terms of price wise and the average, now both coincides around this area. So until we break, one level that you have to keep in your mind for the next week in the index is 25,200. If we are above 22,200, we are okay. If we break close below this mark, then again the bias would turn sideways or negative, right? So you have to remember this, that 25,200, until it's not breached decisively, one should continue with positive bias in the index. Upside 25,750, and then a new high 26,200, 300, something that the market is going to attempt. तो देखिए लास्ट वीक जब हमने बात की थी कि ये गैप को फिल करना, जो यहाँ पे मैं शो कर रहा था, तो पहला अटेम्प्ट वो होगा, वो हो जाएगा तो फिर नया हाई बन जाएगा. वो अटेम्प्ट में सक्सेस नहीं मिला मार्केट को, और मार्केट धीरे धीरे थोड़ा सा करेक्ट किया, आधे % के कट के साथ बंद हो गया वीकली पे. बट अभी क्या, अब इस पॉज के बाद ये जो येलो लाइन है 20 EMA की, और जो हमारा कंसोलिडेशन ये रेंज था उसका अपर बैंड 25,200 के पास था, तो जब तक ये इंटैक्ट है तब तक मार्केट का बायस नेगेटिव नहीं है. ये एक चीज क्लियर है, जब तक 25,200 ध्यान रखिए कि वो इंडेक्स है, तब तक पॉजिटिव साइड पे ही अपने को पोजीशनिंग रखनी चाहिए इंडेक्स में और अदरवाइज ऑल्सो। ऊपर पे 25,750 ब्रेक कर दिया तो फिर नया हाई, क्योंकि लास्ट वीक हमने बात की थी वो सेम, उसमें कोई चेंज नहीं है। राइट नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट बैंकिंग। तो निफ्टी डिस्कस दैट 25,200 is critical and we expect index to hold this area. Banking is also maintaining the steady uptrend. In fact, it's outperforming in a way. If you see that it has already made a new high, it's gradually inching higher. But the conviction on the structure is slightly low. What I mean by that is that the way we are seeing banking up, inching higher. See, after this breakout, there was a phase of correction, then this kind of consolidation, and then again a recovery. We surpassed the previous swing high, but again, it's not very strong closing here, followed by a marginal dip. Why we are not seeing a decisive move in banking? Because the private banking majors, there the trend is mixed. Means at one point of time, ICICI and HDFC Bank, they were underperforming. Kotak and Axis were holding strong. This time around, it was opposite. ICICI, HDFC, they were holding strong. Axis and Kotak were declining. Amid all, the PSU pack is something which is showing some bit of a consistency. Means they are gradually inching higher. So there we are seeing consistency in the trend. But if we ignore all and just focus on the trend, forget about the momentum, the trend is clearly positive. There is no doubt about it. Means in past also there were multiple attempts of penetration of 20 EMA, but eventually we are holding above this mark, and this 56,500 this time around also means today we came closer to this mark, but we've ended on a decent footing by the end of the session. So 56,500, 400 first, and then 55,500 around this area, the previous swing low, is something that the banking index will find support in case if profit taking continues. But as of now, indications are in the favor that in line with the Nifty, the positive tone might continue in the banking index also. Though the kind of price structure, we might not see the outperformance as of now. So obviously that we'll come to know once the earnings season is going to unfold and all. But still, 57,500 first, 500 to 600 zone. And then the trend line hurdle, which was earlier around at 58,200, that has shifted slightly to 58,400, 500 zone. Right? देखिए बैंकिंग में तेजी है, हाँ है. मोमेंटम है नहीं, मोमेंटम नहीं है. मोमेंटम क्यों नहीं है? बिकॉज जो 4 बड़े बैंक हैं, 5 बड़े बैंक हैं, उनमें क्या हो रहा है कि एक टाइम पे 2 पॉजिटिव हैं, 2 नेगेटिव हैं. मतलब साइडवेज भी नहीं है, नेगेटिव ही हो जाते हैं एकदम. जब वो दूसरे 2 पॉजिटिव होते हैं तो दूसरे बाकी फिर दोबारा से साइडवेज या नेगेटिव हो जाते हैं. तो ये HDFC, ICICI, कोटक और एक्सेस, इनमें ये चल रहा है अभी, जिसकी वजह से मोमेंटम नहीं देखने को मिल रहा है अपने को. बट ट्रेंड पॉजिटिव है, क्योंकि कोई ना कोई हेल्प कर रहा है मार्केट को ऊपर जाने में. PSUs कंपैरेटिवली बेटर परफॉर्म किए हैं अभी हाल फिलहाल में, बट आउटराइटली उनपे बेट करना डिसाइसिव वो थोड़ा सा मुश्किल लगता है, कंसिडरिंग कि बहुत वॉलेटाइल हो जाते हैं वो. बट इंडेक्स की अगर बात करें तो टोन पॉजिटिव लग रहा है. 56,500, 400 का जोन है, ये पहला सपोर्ट होगा. वो ब्रेक हुआ तो फिर दोबारा से चैलेंज, फिर ये भी रेंज में अपना 55,500, 400 का जोन, ये वाला एरिया हो जाएगा. ऊपर पे 57,600 जो ये रिसेंट के हाईज थे, उसके बाद फिर 58,400 तक के लेवल्स. ये ट्रेंड लाइन पीछे से चलती आ रही है. उसको वहां पे जाके शायद वो करेगा. तो ट्रेंड पॉजिटिव है. Here also you should look for buy on dips opportunity. But again, one needs to be selective here because there's no uh, alignment across the sector or across the stocks, right? So that becomes critical. Now, where we should focus now in that case, कहाँ फोकस करें अगर ऐसा है कि बैंकिंग में और निफ्टी में टोन पॉजिटिव है. बट तो देखिए, पहला नाम दैट वी हैव इन द लिस्ट इज ओरो फार्मा. सो फार्मा एज अ बास्केट, if you see, it's been a very mixed performance, in this recent rebound and otherwise also. But some of the names like Dr. Reddy's, Divis, Glenmark, Loris Lab, they have done exceptionally well, in the recent search. But then we have stock like Biocon, which has started rebounding, Oro Pharma from the pharma space, wherein we are seeing sign of reversal. So basically, there is one pack which has already done well. There is a next leg where we are anticipating where risk to reward is favorable, so that one can look at fresh buying opportunity. So Oro Pharma, as you can see, a very strong directional move means from 400 to 1600. Then followed by this correction and this consolidation, tight range consolidation, and then we are seeing some sign of reversal. It's not outrightly a confirmation, but yes, it's a very strong sign. Means bears were heavy around this area, but in the last like 2 weeks, bulls have reclaimed some of its control. So we expect this recovery to strengthen further. So here the risk reward is favorable in comparison to the others. It's not that the other counters which we have named earlier, the pharma space, doesn't offer the upside potential. It's just that we have to see from the risk to reward point of view also. Here, this 1100, 1110 is a good support area with the upside potential of 1400, 1500. So do we have a similar kind of a risk to reward? Obviously, we can go ahead with the other names also. But here, as of now, we feel that it's a good potential to accumulate, and it will give you time also to accumulate. This is the good part about this stock. It's not going to be outrightly a strong directional move. This is what indications are. तो देखिए, यहाँ पे मार्केट में कि धीरे धीरे हम अपने रिकॉर्ड हाइस के ऊपर बढ़ रहे हैं निफ्टी में. और सेक्टर्स की अगर बात करें तो केवल एफएमसीजी एक ऐसा सेक्टर रह गया है जहाँ पे कि अभी तक स्ट्रॉन्ग मूव्स नहीं देखे गए हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि बड़े नाम जितने भी हैं, चाहे वो आईटीसी हो, एचयूएल हो, कोलगेट हो, इन सभी में थोड़ा सा अंडर परफॉर्मेंस चल रहा है. वहीं पे ब्रिटानिया, मैरिको, कुछ एक ऐसे नाम है जहाँ पे कि अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस आई भी है. तो इस टाइम पे ये इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाता है कि जब आप मार्केट के हाइस के पास पहुंच रहे हैं, कुछ एक स्टॉक सेक्टर्स ओवरबॉट हो गए हैं, वहां पे प्रॉफिट टेकिंग आ रही है, जैसे बैंकिंग की हमने बात की. तो यहाँ पे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है कि आप ठीक टाइम पे ठीक जगह पे अपनी स्टॉक्स को आइडेंटिफाई करें, तो दैट कि आपका रिस्क मैनेज रहे. सी मार्केट में रिटर्न अपने आप बन जाते हैं अगर आपका रिस्क आपने ठीक से मेंटेन किया हुआ है तो, राइट. सो हियर ऑरो फार्मा जो हमारा आइडेंटिफिकेशन हमने किया वो इसी बेसिस पे किया कि यहाँ पे इन कंपैरिजन टू द अदर फार्मा नेम्स साइन ऑफ रिवर्सल है. सो यहाँ से अच्छी रिकवरी आ सकती है और फार्मा में आने वाले टाइम में, तो इस पर फोकस किया जा सकता है फॉर एक्यूमुलेशन. नेक्स्ट ऑन द लिस्ट, बजाज ऑटो. So last week we've discussed about, I guess last week or maybe before, about Hero Motoko from the two-wheeler space. And if you go back and see that video, you might find almost the identical chart. This for Hero MotoCo also. So Bajaj Auto, Hero MotoCo, they're almost identical except this portion now, because Hero MotoCo was slightly up now and still staying in a very tight range. So here we see sign of reversal. Means why we are seeing this, a sharp correction followed by first area of recovery, attempt of recovery, followed by this again a declining phase, and then again a pause around the major averages. So it seems like a inverted head and shoulder in making, which is bullish reversal in nature. And after this correction means from 12,400 to 7,000, and time wise also, here also the risk to reward is favorable because this zone now around 8,200, here we have multiple supports, 8,000 to 8,200. So again, it's not that M&M, TVS, Aisha, one should avoid those names because they are trading at the record highs. In fact, I always recommend to focus on the performers first. But if somebody is looking for better risk to reward and have time in place, means they can wait for a longer period, if not 1 month, maybe 2 months, 3 months. This could be the structure which can offer better rewards, right? So बजाज ऑटो, जैसे कि हमने एक दो वीक पहले बात की थी हीरो मोटोको की, ऑलमोस्ट सेम स्ट्रक्चर है, एक रिवर्सल पैटर्न का फॉर्मेशन, और इंडिकेशन यही है कि जल्दी फॉर्मेशन कंप्लीट होगा और उसके बाद स्टॉक में आपको रिकवरी आते हुए नजर आएगी आने वाले टाइम में. तो इस पे आप फोकस कर सकते हैं एक्यूमुलेशन के लिए. हो सकता है रिकवरी नेक्स्ट वीक आ जाए, हो सकता है रिकवरी आने में 15 दिन, 1 महीना जो भी लग जाए, बट यहाँ पे रिस्क रिवॉर्ड फेवरेबल है, ये इंडिकेशन मार्केट की तरफ से है. Lastly on the list, a sector or stock which isn't fancy, means people are very keen about knowing about the defense space. So one of the prominent name from the defense basket, which is doing nothing, almost nothing from last, how many weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 weeks, and the stock is HAL. So HAL, after this strong move from 3,000 to 5,200, in the last 7 weeks, it's in a very tight range. And what this indicates? This indicates indecisiveness. Means market is not sure, participants are not sure which side of move stock should undergo now after this pause. So there is still a tussle going on among the bulls and bears. Why there is a strong possibility that it could resume the trend? See, when we have such a strong move, right, and the price remains in a very tight range without any damage to the overall trend, then possibility of trend resumption remains high. In other words, if let's say somebody is running or he completes 100-meter and then just after 2-3 seconds of wait, again he starts moving, then it shows his temperament, momentum. Similarly, if without seeing any major retracement or decline in the stock price, if it remains in a very tight range, it means it's in a very strong hands. People are very assured about it. But is something which is obvious or confirmed? No, nothing is confirmed in markets, and so one should not get carried away and buy HAL in their full capacity. In fact, this area 4600 means 4800 is currently the lower band, but on a safer side, 4600, this yellow line is something should be the stop in case if you have any existing positions. Okay, so that what it means is that 400 points roughly around should be your stop loss because it's quoting around 5,000 levels. Upside is open. Upside, in case if it starts moving from here, then 5600 the record high, and then it could be sky could be a limit, right? It's going to be an uncharted territory, so upside is going to be open. So there's two ways to look at it. One is whether one should go ahead and buy it right away. That shows the aggressive trader. Other is whether I should wait for this consolidation to end. Where it's going to end? Once we see 5200K upper, HAL closing above 5200 mark. Third, in case if it sees any dip first around 4800 mark, then should I buy with 4600 stop loss? There could be multiple permutation combinations, right? So I'm just giving you perspectives how one can approach a stock if it's in a very tight range. Forget about HAL, any stock, right? So that completely depends what kind of trader you are. If you are aggressive, you will not wait for the breakout. You will go right away with immediate low as a stop loss. If you are professional, means usually they wait for the confirmation. Then you will wait for 5200K per breakout and then you will enter, right? But this is something which indicates a possibility of trend resumption soon. So that should also be in your watch list. देखिए लास्ट स्टॉक HAL का जो हमने डिफेंस स्टॉक्स पे लेके बहुत ज्यादा बात होती रहती है और बहुत ज्यादा लोगों का आज के टाइम पे वो भी है, इंटरेस्ट भी है. पिछले 7 हफ्तों में कुछ नहीं किया है HAL ने इस तेजी के बाद जो 3000 से लेकर 5200 तक आई है. तो कुछ तो करेगा. अब ये अगले वीक करे, उसके अगले वीक करे, ये किसी को नहीं पता है ये कि कंसोलिडेशन ये लास्ट वीक है या फिर उसके बाद भी कुछ वीक्स हो सकता है. बट जिस तरीके से कंसोलिडेट कर रहा है, जिस टाइट रेंज में कंसोलिडेट कर रहा है, पॉसिबिलिटी ये काफी ज्यादा है कि ये अपना ट्रेंड को रिज्यूम कर लेगा, ये तेजी को रिज्यूम कर लेगा और एक नए हाइट्स की तरफ बढ़ सकता है. ये चीज कब खत्म हो जाएगी? ये तेजी को रिज्यूम कर लेगा, एक बार 4600 के नीचे आ गया तो फिर ये इसमें भी टोन चेंज हो जाएगा, राइट? सो सिंस बहुत सारे लोगों की क्वेरीज होती है डिफेंस को लेकर, वन ऑफ द मोस्ट प्रोमिनेंट नेम डिफेंस बास्केट में, so I thought I should cover this today. All right, so with this, the presentation ends, and just to summarize what we've discussed so far, key 25,200, and let's see the chart and then discuss. 25,200, this yellow line, 56,500, 56,400 banking index. Until these areas are intact, one should continue with positive bias with focus on stock selections. Some of these stocks that we've discussed, Apollo, Bajaj Auto and HAL. देखिए जब तक 25,200 और 56,400 इंटेक्ट है तब तक पॉजिटिव साइड पे ही बायस रखिए अपना मार्केट में. स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक अब ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, थोड़ा ध्यान रखना. पहले अभी कुछ वीक में बहुत अच्छी मूवमेंट आ गई है, अब थोड़ा सा स्टॉक सिलेक्शन पे ज्यादा ध्यान रखने की जरूरत है, राइट? ने बजाज ऑटो की बात की, औरो फार्मा की बात की, HAL की बात की. ये कुछ एक ऐसे नाम है जो कि अपने वॉच लिस्ट में लगा सकते हैं टू कंसिडर फॉर एक्यूमुलेशन और बाय, right? So this is all from the presentation part. So let's start with quick feedback. So please fill in your feedback and then we can start with the Q&A session. कोई भी आपका फीडबैक है, कैसा लगा आपको सेशन, वो आप प्लीज फिल कर दीजिए एंड देन वी कैन स्टार्ट विद द Q&A. जो भी आपका सवाल है, यू कैन यूज दैट Q&A बटन. Those who are done with the feedback, they can start posting their question during with Q&A button. जिन्होंने फीडबैक भर दिया है वो अपना सवाल पूछ सकते हैं. Q&A बटन का जो क्वेश्चन मार्क वाला साइन है उसको प्रेस करेंगे तो एक विंडो खुल जाएगा, उस पर आप लिखकर पूछ सकते हैं. All right, so we are almost done with the feedback. चलिए, let's start with Q&A now. Okay, so see, I personally feel that this session is going to be fruitful for all if we talk about sectors instead of stocks. Because stocks, we may have 20-30 stocks on an average in anybody's portfolio. And if we start talking about stock specific queries, this session is not going to end even in next 2-3 hours. So if we talk about sector, at least we get a view how we should approach our stocks from that sector, right? It could be, yes, at times a mixed trend within the sector. So that also we apprise you once we answer the queries. But largely we stick to sectors specific queries first, and then if time allows, then we'll answer some stock specific queries also. तो देखिए, जो भी आपकी क्वेरीज होंगी उनको सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक रखेंगे, सबके लिए आसान होगा. और उसके लिए, क्योंकि उसी से ही आपको आइडिया लग जाएगा कि मेरे को अपने स्टॉक को कैसे प्ले करना है, राइट? सो फर्स्ट वी हैव शिवकरण on PSU banks and SBI. So PSU banks, like what we've shared during the presentation itself, comparatively they are stable of late, because while the private banking majors, we are seeing very volatile swings, which is not very normal. Means earlier we used to see most of the private banking majors aligned, if not trade in tandem, but at least aligned. But here we are seeing reversals also. Means at one point of time, ICICI is going up and Axis is going down. So it could be probably due to the earning season is about to approach. But PSUs, on the other hand, they are holding strong. Comparatively, they are stronger structures, but they are volatile. But among all, SBI is very stable if we compare it with the others. And yes, we feel that potential of recovery and sustained move is still high in SBI. So it is okay if you are holding SBI, but do check with your financial advisor for the stop losses and targets and all, right? Next we have Gaurang on, okay, again a stock specific queries, but we'll answer in a different manner. Gaurang, FMCG as a sector. So again, we've discussed during presentation that there's only one sector which is not participating yet, is FMCG, right? Reason, the big names from the sector, they are either trading in a very tight range with a negative bias, or they are gradually inching lower. Still, they are facing pressure. HUL is one such name wherein we have not seen any meaningful recovery. Can we see a outperformance? See, I doubt. It can only happen now if we see some positive surprises during the earnings season. right? The earnings season about to kickstart from the next week. In case if we see anything positive on that front, then it may probably trigger a strong move. Otherwise, this underperformance is likely to continue. Okay. Okay, Mr. Ajay Gupta, thank you for the feedback. Now, US-China deal done with India is also expected soon. Can we expect metal and IT to move? Yes, this is very valid and important question. What he has mentioned that US-China deal is done, and now it's turn for US-India deal. So if that happens, its consequences basically. So see, market always try to look for clues uh, to maintain a particular trend, be it positive or negative. So of late, we were seeing stability on the geopolitical front means Israel, Iran ceasefire and all, sharp decline in crude that pushed our market higher. Now what next? Next probably could be this US India deal, which could be the trigger. Usually we don't talk about the why part in this session. But since he has raised this query, so I'm answering this. That apart from earning, yes, this is something which is important, which is critical. From the sentiment point of view also, that if this deal happens, its impact or its details basically, how it's going to impact the overall trade relationship between India and China, India and US. That would offer clues which sector to focus on, which not to focus on. Stability in China is good for metals because China is the biggest consumer. So there is no doubt, and that's the reason why we are seeing metal prices also going up, and stocks also they are performing well. IT also, for some other reason, means if you see the US markets, interestingly, the broader indices, S&P 500 and the tech-heavy index, next is a composite, both have made a new record high of late. Dow Jones is in process, it's set to make a new high. But the tech-heavy index is already at the record highs. Though we have a difference between US tech and India tech listed companies because we are service provider, they are more of manufacturers. Still, sentiment-wise, means we were on back foot of late after the Accenture numbers and updates, but we have recovered very strongly. So I feel IT can definitely positively surprise the market, in the coming weeks. So IT पे जरूर ध्यान रखिएगा. ये एक ऐसा सेक्टर है जो आपको पॉजिटिवली सरप्राइज कर सकता है आने वाले टाइम में, राइट? सो अभी तक वो साइन एफएमसीजी में नहीं है, अंडर परफॉर्मेंस जोनों ने दी है, बट अभी तक उस तरीके साइन नहीं है. आईटी में उस तरीके के साइंस बन रहे हैं कि ये पॉजिटिवली सरप्राइज कर सकता है. सो बोथ मेटल एंड आईटी दे लुक गुड. Definitely you can look for opportunities. Okay. Thank you, Abhay, for the feedback. Okay, stock specific questions. Pharma. Okay, Abhay has follow-up query on pharma. So like pharma, we discussed about certain names, Dr. Reddy's Device, Biocon, Loris, Oru Pharma. You can add Cipla to that list also. So yes, majority of the names, they are upbeat. But pharma is slightly low beta. It's not that it maintains that tone always, but yes, in general, it's slightly low beta. But yes, pharma looks positive, so you can definitely consider long position in the pharma basket also. See, aviation and HAL away is two different. Basically, HAL is not into aviations; they are into defense aviation. Means they build uh, fighter planes, not normal, passenger aircrafts, right? So we've discussed about HAL in detail that from the defense point of view and otherwise also it's a very steady performer. So in case if somebody is having a view for long term or short term also with the kind of levels that we've discussed, if you're okay with that as a stop loss, you can go ahead with your positioning. Okay. Okay, so it's a very different question. Mr. Jayaprakash have asked us algo trading is the possibility of loss. Obviously, see, when it comes to anything which is related to markets, uh, the mode of execution could be anything. Anything means anything which is not known yet. At the end of the day, it's market. So if there's something, uh, you know, if there be any technique which can avoid losses altogether, I have never heard of, not in Indian markets, but in any other market in the world. It will be a holy grail in that case, means, right? So there's no such thing uh, called no loss, right? Okay, next we have Gorang on infrastructure. Okay. So, see, infrastructure is a very big basket. It comprises everything, means capital goods, metal, cement. They all fall under this uh, category. And metal, like we have discussed, capital goods, it's kind of a like mixed trend as of now. So I'm not very sure. Cement definitely looks positive, despite the early monsoon challenge. If you see the stock prices, they have done exceptionally well, and they are still continuing the positivity. So cement and metals is something definitely you can consider if you are planning for long trades. Okay. Okay, Varsha has this question: which sector ETF has a upside potential? So Varsha, when it comes to sectoral funds, they're very risky. First, why? Because you are betting on a one particular sector uh, to do well. So be it banking, IT, pharma, any other any sector. If you go wrong with that sector and the market continue to go higher, you will not make money. So sector specific ETFs you should only consider if you are very clear about the prospects. So I don't think it's a very good idea to have a sector specific ETF. Instead, index specific means mid cap, small cap. If you are very risk, uh, like, you know, very risk taking capacity means you are okay with 10% kind of a decline, 20% kind of a decline. Then broader indices ETFs, momentum ETFs, they are something which you can consider, but not sector specific ETF. I hope it answers your query. Okay. Next, we have Gopal on power sector, right? So, see, in the energy basket, if you see that off late we were seeing at one point of time, the refiners, they were doing well. Now OMCs, then the gas distribution names. Power, I have not seen any participation yet, uh, to an extent where it's noticeable. So yes, of late we were seeing certain stocks witnessing recovery, but it's not very decisive. So maybe in the next leg we might see participation from the power stocks also. But as of now, if the view is short term, the underperformance might continue. So one should be very uh, clear about the time horizon or the purpose before you invest or trade in any particular sector. If you are looking for investment point of view, definitely you can consider stock like NTPC, Tata Power, and all, from the investment point of view. But if the view is short term, I would suggest that we have better sectors to look out for fresh trades, right? Okay, couple of more queries, but it's more of stock specific. So, in case if you're associated with us with Religare, you can send your queries to your branches, to your business partners, and they can reach out to us to help you with those queries. Otherwise, the session is not going to end. It's more of like stock specific queries now. So I feel that with this, it's already 4:50. So we have already spent almost an hour now. So thank you everyone for participating. Next week, let me check. Yeah, next week, same time, same place. We'll connect again. Till then, take care. Goodbye.